How's it going once again? Welcome back to another show. This is You Made Roscoe, and I am Roscoe. And today we're going to be taking a look at a video that is titled Michael Jordan Bullied Larry Bird and Instantly Regretted It. We'll be looking at this. Before we do that, I do want to ask for anybody who hasn't that they please subscribe to the channel and also make sure you hit the notification bell. This is different. I didn't realize like Mike even attempted to bully Larry Bird. This isn't something that I don't think I've heard of. So we'll check this out and see what's to this.
You are currently looking at a 21-year-old Michael Jordan, a kid who is fresh off his junior season at North Carolina and has yet to play in a single NBA game. You are also currently looking at a 27-year-old Larry Bird, who is in his prime. Looking at this matchup on paper, this should have been no contest. Jordan was the leader of the 1984 Olympic team, a team made up of college kids, while Bird, he was leading a team full of NBA All-Stars who were supposed to toughen up the college kids before the Olympics and show them what life in the NBA was like. Only that's not what happened. Instead, Michael would go on to embarrass Larry and in turn created a rivalry that Michael himself would regret, because sure, Mike put up individual numbers against Bird and the Celtics that were absurd, but as you are about to see, during his time in the NBA, Michael Jordan eventually got the best of basically every star he ever faced off against except for one, and that man is Larry Bird. Now, you guys may remember this sequence from The Last Dance, and I'm going to explain to you why it's so meaningful.
Enjoy yourself, dog. Y'all gave us the run for our money. Yeah. Thanks for working on that golf game of yours.
As you just saw, Michael cursed out a then head coach of the Indiana Pacers version of Larry Bird after the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals, where the Pacers took the Bulls to 7 games. Now, Michael said these curses with a smile, but there was no joking when it came to Michael Jordan and basketball. Mike was this hyped to beat Larry because after taking him down in that Olympic exhibition game, in all reality, Jordan would never really get the best of Larry again, and instead, it was Larry Bird who would get his revenge. So what's up guys, Mike here, and today we are taking a deep dive on the story between Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, an underrated rivalry that again could possibly be the only rivalry that Michael Jordan was ever bested in. There are some absolutely crazy stories.
All right. I'm gonna just stop it for a second. I always find it interesting. I really find it interesting that they find these one-on-one kind of, or they make it seem as if these people are playing one-on-one when it's a team sport. So there's always like this guy beat this guy, but no, it's not as simple as that. Like that's why it's always hard to make these arguments, because they can say that one guy beat the next one, but I mean, I could talk a little bit more about that as we continue, but I hate when they do that in team sport and say that this guy beat this guy when no, there's some other factors like the other 4 members, the other 4 players that were on the court besides that one, for each team, or for each guy. But let's keep it going.
In this video. I know you're gonna love it. I do want to say though guys that episode 7 of my podcast Laced Up is out right now. In that episode we talked about the NBA MVP and we did a huge NBA playoff preview. Make sure to go check it out. The link is in the description, and remember, if you go to the Laced Up podcast channel, if you subscribe and turn on post notifications, you are going to be entered to win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. That is a pretty sweet deal for just a few clicks of a button. So guys, go check out the podcast, link in the description. And now let's talk about this video. Let's set the stage with the 1984 Olympic team and the NBA All-Stars. Because you see, in order to get his team ready for the 1984 Olympics, Bob Knight scheduled 8 exhibitions with current NBA players, including several current All-Stars and future Hall of Famers. Now remember, at this point in time, only college kids could play in the Olympics. However, it was expected that these college kids would lose to the NBA All-Stars, right? Well, we'll get into that, but this also led to the first documented Michael Jordan versus Larry Bird matchup on July 9th, 1984. In this game, the NBA All-Star starting lineup featured future 3-time NBA champion John Paxson, 3-time All-Star Mark Aguirre.
I gotta those lineups. Let me see the Olympians. Jordan, Wayman Tisdale, rest in peace. I know that he was a very decent player, and jazz dude too. He probably was more known for the music side of him than his basketball playing career overall. But I mean, he was a good basketball player. I remember that. But that Perkins would have to be Sam Perkins. Let me push it back so it's lit up a little bit more. All right, let me.
84. In this game, the NBA
All right, there we go. So Alvin Robertson. Oh, that dude was a defensive monster, and I think eventually turned into like a real monster in real life. I think Robertson is in jail somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. But Vern Fleming, well, that's a name blast from the past against Aguirre, Bird, Parrish, Thomas, and Paxson. That would have to be the brother Jim Paxson, who I didn't realize he was like a all-star level player. I didn't realize that. I know that the Paxson I remember is John, who played for the Bulls and, clutch shooter and all that, but he wasn't like a star player. But I didn't realize his brother was like all that level of dude, but okay, that's what's up. Let's keep going.
All-Star starting lineup featured future three-time NBA champion John Paxson, three-time All-Star Mark Aguirre, and three Hall of Famers in Robert Parrish, Isaiah Thomas, and of course, Larry Bird. Meanwhile, the Olympic team had three future Hall of Famers in Michael Jordan, Chris Mullin, and Patrick Ewing, but these were just college kids and they had no business really competing with NBA All-Stars. The Olympic team actually went 8-0 against 8 separate teams of NBA stars. As we all know, Michael Jordan was not the number 1 or number 2 pick in the 1984 draft, but playing for Bob Knight, Jordan established himself as a dominant force, and it was clear this guy was going to make a huge impact in the league right away, and he did, as Mike would average over 28 points per game as a rookie. Now, because of this, Larry Bird saw Jordan as a threat. He saw him as a young kid who was going to try to come in and take over the league that Bird was currently dominating. Remember, Larry was the MVP in 1984, and he would actually win MVP in 1985 and 1986 as well. This meant that Larry
All right, commercial. Yeah.
People keep asking me how Blue Chew works. Is it worth it? Does it really make a difference?
legend was at his apex, and he wanted Michael Jordan to know this was his league, which meant, according to Sports Illustrated, during the pregame warmups in Indy, Jordan had chased a ball to the NBA end, whereupon Bird controlled it. Did Bird hand it to Jordan? He did not. Without a smile, Bird kicked the ball over Jordan's head back to the Olympian's end. Jordan didn't seem surprised, he just shook his head. 4 nights later, when Jordan crashed to the floor in Milwaukee and Johnson paused to help him up, the NBA coach waved Johnson off. Get away from him. He's been over our backs all night, shouted none other than Oscar Robertson. Looking at Larry Bird specifically here, you heard that right. When a ball bounced to the NBA All-Star side and Michael Jordan went to retrieve it, Larry Bird did not give it to him. Instead, he kicked it over Michael Jordan's head. With this, Larry was telling Mike, I don't care who you are, you're going to have to earn respect in the NBA, and it's going to be tough. The thing is, though, this move would look kind of silly because on this night, Michael Jordan would embarrass the NBA All-Stars, including Larry Bird. Mike would help lead the Olympic team to a win as he showcased his jaw-dropping athleticism and his ability to already seemingly score at will. And of course, it wouldn't be a Michael Jordan game if there was not a huge highlight, which came in the form of this absolutely monster dunk over Robert Reed. Now, as for what Mike thought about Larry's actions during warm-ups, he would later say, quote, Bird was showing me it was all business now and I was beneath him. I didn't forget, which means, I guess you could say, Michael Jordan took this person. But the thing is,
wow. Yeah, no, that's wow. I didn't realize that 84 game happened. So that's something a little new for me. That the already established NBA stars against the Olympic team. So Yeah, no, that was pretty. That's it's very interesting. That yeah, Mike led, and then you catching Bird in the midst of his little stretch when he was like winning all these MVPs and stuff like that. So yeah, Bird being Bird, he didn't take that lightly. Like Bird was all about getting in your head and stuff like that, and playing the mental game. So uh, let's keep this going.
Larry Bird took this personal too. Remember, Larry was in his absolute prime at this point, but so were several Hall of Fame guards and forwards, and as I'm about to show you, Michael would eventually get the best of all of these players, because when Michael entered the NBA, 4 guards/forwards would make the first team All-NBA in Michael's first 2 seasons. And guys, before we continue quickly, remember on this channel right here, if you also subscribe and turn on post notifications, once we hit 1.7 million subscribers, I'm also going to give one of you a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications. It's completely free. And guys, remember, if you're already subscribed, make sure to turn on post notifications too. That way you are also entered for this giveaway. All it takes is one click of a single button. Continuing on, these men were Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, and Dominique Wilkins. Now, as you can see against Dominique, for his career, Michael beat him in everything. Wins, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, points, you name it. Michael had Dominique's number in the regular season, and in the playoffs, the two matched up once and Mike's Bulls swept Dominique. Moving on to Magic Johnson. Michael barely snuck out a win difference in the regular season, and I would say certainly he had better overall numbers, but what was most important was, in their one meeting in the NBA Finals, Jordan dominated and the Bulls won Mike's first championship in 5 games. So again, advantage Mike. This brings us to Isaiah Thomas, the one other name on this list that actually has an argument for besting Mike. Now, in the regular season, Isaiah did win more games, but again, I'd say Mike had better numbers, and then in the playoffs, Mike's numbers were clearly better, but Isaiah does have the win differential here. The thing is though, Mike would get his revenge against Isaiah. He would of course knock out the Pistons in the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals after years of losing to them, a revenge that was so sweet that the Pistons refused to shake hands with the Bulls after they were swept. This revenge makes all the difference, because in Michael's matchups against Larry Bird, when looking at them head to head, we can see that in the regular season, Larry bested Mike in the wins column and put up similar numbers other than score. Then in the playoffs, bam, Bird's Celtics took down Jordan's Bulls all 6 times they played, and even though Mike had some absurd games, including of course his 63-point outburst against the 1986 Celtics where Larry would call Michael Jordan God disguised as Michael Jordan, Larry and his team always got the best of Michael, and that never changed. Jordan would never get revenge over Larry Bird, which is of course not only extremely rare, but makes Larry one of a kind. And the thing is, Mike acknowledged this. When Larry eventually retired, Michael would make this statement: "Larry, I hear that you're retiring. Thank goodness, I'm glad. I'm tired of seeing your face. You brought a lot of sad memories for me. I enjoyed it and I wish you a lot of luck, and I think you had a great and wonderful career. You ruined a lot of my successful games against the Boston Celtics." Some great words and some telling words.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stop it right there for a second because um, there now when people make this argument or talk about the fact that Bird bested Michael Jordan, throughout his career, but they forget to add. It's all about the nuances, and there's some other things going on, some other factors going on. Now they never mention, or they fail to mention a lot of the time, where Jordan's Bulls teams were as far as the team is concerned versus where Bird's teams were. Now, Bird is a superstar, mega legend. I love Larry Bird. The Celtics are actually my second team when I'm not rooting for the Bulls. But uh, Larry Bird hit them teams that were beating up on Michael Jordan's teams. Those were championship level teams. Those were championship level teams. Great teams, for the Celtics. When those teams that he was beating up on, or Mike's teams, those were some garbage teams. Like Michael Jordan had some whack and some whack teams when he was so that's the thing that they tend to forget. They say that like Bird beat Jordan, all the time, and yeah, but they probably never like once Larry retired, is kind of just when the Bulls were starting to get good, So that's the thing that people tend to leave out is like, yeah, Larry Bird was beating the Bulls, beating Mike and the Bulls all the time, but they were beating the very whack ass Bulls, and while they were a championship level team and had all these great players, and Mike is just running around with, you know, or his second dude is probably Orlando Warridge or something like that. And Warridge was a good player, but he ain't you and Orlando Warridge ain't gonna go and beat Larry Bird and McHale and Parrish and DJ and Ainge and Reggie Lewis, and you just they had studs all over the place, So I just needed to throw that out there, But let's keep it going.
Because we can see here, Larry Bird was really the one guy that Michael Jordan never got. And sure, Larry Bird's Celtics were better than Michael Jordan's Bulls early on, but that was the case of a lot of teams when Michael Jordan entered the NBA. The thing is, Mike got revenge on every single one of those teams except for the Celtics and Bird. This already is huge, and I think because of this, Mike not only had the ultimate respect for Larry, but he also openly admitted that he learned a lot from him, especially...
See, he brings up the fact that Bird had better teams, but don't bring up the fact that, like I said, when Jordan finally gets a team around him, Larry Bird has left the building now. You know what I mean? He's basically he's out of the league. So I just don't I just don't like the way they tell these stories sometimes, man. If you go tell the story, tell it right, man. That's all I'm about, man. Just you leave out these little things and it has everybody thinking, the narrative is like, he never beat him. And first of all, like I said in the beginning, I hate that they make it a one-on-one thing. It's team versus team, so let's keep it going.
In the matter of getting into his opponent's heads. Mike has stated, Larry Bird is the greatest trash talker and mind game player of all time. He taught me everything I know about getting in folks' heads. This was certainly true. During his time in the NBA, Mike watched as Larry did the following things, and this is just naming a few Larry Bird trash talking stories as there are a ton, but number one, in Mike's rookie year, Larry was playing the Atlanta Hawks and dropped 60 points, an amazing feat that was even more incredible because according to Doc Rivers, quote, the last shot he said in the trainer's lap coming down the court, which meant it was going to be a three and it was going to be from deep. And then he said, who wants it? Then I think Reggie Brown, I'm not sure who it was, ran out after him. He shot this high rainbow. It goes in. Reggie bumps into him and accidentally knocks him on our trainer's lap. Yes, Larry Bird actually landed in the trainer's lap, scored 60 points on the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks bench celebrated. Absolutely amazing. Story number two, of course, Larry went into the locker room before the 1988 three-point contest, asked everyone competing who is coming in second, then proceeded to keep his warm-up jacket on and win the contest on this final shot.
This is a tie for the money. Yo! Larry Bird at the buzzer with the two-point ball.
Legendary moment right there.
Then, of course, we have number three, an absolute classic, as on Christmas Day in 1990, Larry went up to Indiana Pacer Chuck Person before the game and said, hey Chuck, I have a Christmas present for you. Then, during that game, he pulled a three in Chuck's face and said, Merry f***ing Christmas, as he drained it. These are just three of the...
Oh my God. And for anybody who's watched any of my Bird stuff, whenever they, the Pacers and the Celtics get the matchup, I used to love Chuck Person going against Larry Bird. I really, really used to love those matchups. And Chuck Person is probably he's probably my favorite Pacer ever. When he was a Pacer, he wasn't there a super long time, but long enough, But I love those matchups between those two. It was always fun. They always went back and forth, barking back and forth at each other, So this I don't know if I've heard this particular story of the Merry Epic Christmas and all that, but that was funny. That was funny.
The legendary trash talking stories that Larry Bird racked up during his NBA career, and I wanted to highlight them because Michael saw what Larry was doing. Michael saw how effective this trash talking was and began to do the same. He saw that Larry played mind games with his opponents and that this paid off big time, and so Michael developed his own style of getting into his opponents' heads and even went as far as befriending Charles Barkley during the 1993 NBA Finals, taking him golfing before Game 4 of those finals and giving him a $20,000 earring so that Chuck would lose his competitive edge. That's right, when asked why he did this, Mike supposedly said, "He won't get in my way the rest of the series. What's $20,000 to me? Charles thinks we're great friends. I hate that fat f." An absolutely incredible story, and again, Michael himself said that he learned from Larry. He learned how to get into his opponent's heads, and this paid off big time as his career progressed. Which brings us to my final thoughts. What should we take away from this video? Well, to me, I think it's remarkable that the one guy that Michael Jordan could never best was Larry Bird, and maybe, of course, if Larry Bird's back did not give out, Michael would have gotten his chance to take down Bird because his career would have been longer. But it can also be said that if Larry's back held up, he would have been better, he would have stayed in his MVP form, and it could have been the Celtics who were beating the Bulls in the playoffs in the late 1980s, so Larry could have even gained a larger advantage on Jordan. We'll never know for sure there. What we do know is that in an extremely rare occurrence, it was an opponent who took things personal against Michael Jordan and actually got the better of him. Yes, Larry Bird took the loss in that 1984 exhibition game, but then after that, he did not do a whole lot more losing, especially in the playoffs. 6-0 for Larry Bird and the Celtics. That is something that Larry Bird will take to his grave and is the reason why Michael was so hyped to beat Larry Bird when Larry was a coach. Finishing up here though, I do also think it's awesome that Mike really held no hard feelings against Larry. Sure, he is a competitive psychopath and always wanted to beat Larry, but he has openly praised Larry Bird. He has openly said that he has learned from Larry Bird, and he has said that he used this knowledge to help himself become the greatest basketball player of all time. With that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe, and also go check out my podcast and subscribe and turn on post notifications there. You're going to be entered to win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, and on this channel, same deal. As soon as we hit 1.7 million subscribers, I'm giving away a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, so turn on post notifications here and subscribe here as well. That way you have 2 chances to win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X for free. I think that's a pretty sweet deal, and to everyone who's already subscribed, make sure your post notifications are on so you're also entered for the giveaway. And thank you for supporting. You guys are awesome, and as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to
Push it back so that stuff isn't on the screen. All right, but yeah, that was when Michael Jordan bullied Larry Bird and instantly regretted it. That was a fun video to watch. He waited until the end to add a little bit of detail in there about how that rivalry actually panned out when he said that Bird did have to retire early because of the back injury, and that kind of limited their chances to meet each other. And that's kind of all kind of my focus. It's like they bring up the playoff wins, Bird versus Michael, and yeah, no, he never got a chance to beat him, but those were early run-ins with a much weaker Bulls team than the one that they would end up having, just some couple of years later, to which, Bird and Mike's teams never got to match up against each other once the Bulls were in winning mode, so that's the story that, or the part that gets left out a little bit, but and that's not to put a damper on Bird's greatness, because this ain't about that for me. Like I love Larry Bird, more than a lot of people who you'll see on these videos who are just saying some stuff and just trying to get the views or whatever. But I actually was a guy who liked Larry Bird, loved Larry Bird. As a matter of fact, him and I believe Chris Mullin were kind of like two white guys from the era that I started watching basketball from, who I kind of gravitated towards like quickly. Once I saw him, I liked Bird's game because of his competitive fire and all that stuff, along with the talent. And then with Mullen, I just gravitated towards him because he just had a really smooth game, just really smooth. And then him with the buzz cut, and he was wearing the number 17, which is to this day my favorite number. So but yeah, no, I just like the story to be told correctly. For me, that's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it's about for me. So I'm gonna get going. Because we can talk a lot about this stuff, but you know it is what it is. And I can't argue against the fact that however I feel about it. Birds teams, even though they were better, they did beat Mike. So on record, Mike just never got the chance to beat him. But in the playoffs, but it's cool. It is what it is. So we'll get going. Before we do, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the share button, hit the playlist option. You'll pick the one name basketball highlights or sports reactions. I may put it in both of those playlists, but yeah, and more than likely I will. But and you'll find this video in either one of those two, or well, both of those two. So check for this and that, or those. I do have playlists for other things. A lot of that stuff is going to be music based. A lot of great artists, a lot of different genres of music, and as you can see, we're doing some stuff that isn't music related. So whenever you want to, gravitate away from music and check out like some comedy stuff or sports related stuff, then we got playlists for those as well. Cash App, $ You Made Roscoe, PayPal at You Made Roscoe for those who like to show their support or appreciation for the work being done on the page. Any donations, you'll make it at one of those two at the bottom of the screen. And that's it. That's all. So if you have any comments, whether you agree or disagree, as long as you're doing it, respectfully, I have no issue with us having our back and forth in the comment section. But yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all. So I will see you guys again soon, or as soon as you click onto the next video with me in it. So until then, be safe and be good.